All right, good evening and welcome to the Daily Report on this 24th day of December 2024. It's Christmas Eve, and while you're still in the Christmas mood, we want to ensure that you're up to date with everything shaping your world, even as you celebrate Christmas. So stay with us for the next 1 hour or so as we update you on the news making headlines tonight. Tonight, President William Ruto meets outgoing AUC Chairman Musa Faki Mahamat in his Kilgoris home. Also tonight, a larger percentage of Kenyans may be suffering from diseases they know nothing about, government says.
More than 200,000 people have been walking, going to work, going about their duties, and they did not know that they had an issue with diabetes.
Plus, how safe is your meat?
If you find cheap meat in the market, be suspicious of cheap meat.
Experts now warn that you need to be keen on the meat you partake this festive season. And we also talked to Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka on his 2024 reflections. What was his major highlight of the year?
Let Gachagua have his appeal heard and determined expeditiously, because justice delayed is justice denied.
All right, welcome to this live broadcast once again. 22047 is our SMS line, and as always, we are live on our social media platforms at TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, at TV47 News KE. Remember to send in your feedback. We'll be having Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka later on our exclusive interview, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Catherine Simaloi. My name is Odida. Let's get started. Former Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo, and former Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui, the new President William Ruto's nominees to various cabinet positions, will have a date with the members of the National Assembly for vetting on the January 9th to January 14, 2025. The constitutional process will also involve other appointments made by President William Ruto, as Moige William reports.
Members of Parliament will cut short their break and embark on giving a nod or a decline to the recent appointments made by President William Ruto, including new nominees set to join cabinet. In another wave of changes and inclusion to the broad-based cabinet, Ruto nominated former Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe to head the Ministry of Agriculture, with William Kabogo tasked with the ICT department, with the former Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui fronted to replace Salim Vuria at the Ministry of Trade. The National Assembly has set dates for all the approval hearings to take place from January 9 to January 14 next year, 2025, at the County Hall Parliament buildings. Kagwe, Kabogo and Kinyanjui have been slated to face the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, chaired committee on appointments on January 14th. Also to be vetted will be nominee for key ambassadorial roles. Notable among them is former ICT Cabinet Secretary Margaret Nyambura Ndongo, nominated as the High Commissioner in Accra, Ghana. Outgoing Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Andrew Karanja, nominated as the Ambassador in Brazil. Former Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba, who has been nominated as the Permanent Representative to the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. Kenyans have been invited to submit written statements or evidence contesting the suitability of any of the nominees. Moige William, TV47.
Thank you, William, for that report. Now, tonight, President William Ruto and the outgoing African Union Commission Chairman Musa Faki held talks at the President's Kilgoris home in Narok County, where former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's candidacy was on the agenda. Also on the agenda was the ongoing reforms at the African Union, spearheaded by President Ruto, whose proposals will be tabled during the Heads of State Summit in February next year. Apol Kamau reports.
How is Addis? Thank you, my friend. Welcome. Thank you.
With slightly over a month to go to the African Union Commission vote in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, President William Ruto held talks with the outgoing chairperson Musa Faki at his Kilgoris Narok home in the middle of an intense campaign by Kenya's candidate Raila Odinga to clinch the vote. According to sources, President Ruto is said to have campaigned for Odinga's candidacy in line with Kenya's push for AU reforms, while Musyoka is said to have assured the president of a smooth transition at the continental body, where the push for reforms has gathered pace. Musyoka's presence in Kenya is a diplomatic boost, given Kenya's role at the AU, where President Ruto is a champion of institutional reforms. Faki is likely to deploy his networks in Odinga's favor, with the final decision resting on individual African heads of state and prime ministers who wield the power of the vote.
The dynamics of the African continent are the ones that are going to determine, because the presidents and prime ministers are the ones to vote. And they will be voting on three things. One, what do they think of Kenya? Will their interest be jeopardized by having Kenyan at the top? What do they think of Ruto as a person? Then what do they think of Raila and his record? So if all those three factors favor Raila, then they'll vote for Raila. If they favor the other candidate, then he will lose. So it's a 50-50, and he should expect that he might lose. But if he loses, he's here.
Odinga is facing off with Mahamoud Yusuf of Djibouti and Richard James of Madagascar, where victory for Odinga will be a big political score for President William Ruto in the run-up to 2027, while a loss for Odinga is likely to come with political consequences. To win the vote, Odinga needs the support of 32 African countries. President Ruto, as a champion of AU reforms, will be seeking the nod of his fellow African heads of state come February next year on funding of African Union activities, which depends heavily on external donors, strengthening the African Court of Justice to handle African conflicts, considering 6 African countries have been suspended from the Union due to wars and coups. The new proposals also seek to strengthen the 20-year-old Pan-African Parliament, which sits in Johannesburg, South Africa, and to reduce its membership to less than 5 members from each African country and have regular sittings to oversight the African Union Commission. Apol Kamau, TV47.
All right, thank you so much, Apollo, for that report. Now, it is emerging that a larger percentage of Kenyans may be suffering from diseases that they know nothing about. And consequently, it is emerging that such may manifest when the situation is dire or less could be done about it, as Elizabeth Atieno now reports.
New data from the Ministry of Health under the Department of Public Health and Professional Standards has painted a grim picture of the status of Kenyans screened this year by the community health promoters. Out of 22.5 million Kenyans screened so far for diabetes, over 260,000 did not know they suffer from the disease, leave alone the health risks associated with the disease.
That means more than 200,000 people have been walking, going to work, going about their duties, and they did not know that they had an issue with diabetes.
Additionally, out of 15 million Kenyans screened for hypertension, 577,000 have been referred to hospitals for specialized treatment, with the CHPs now keenly monitoring their status and their response to medication.
Before you even go to level 2, where you need to have registered to the Social Health Authority, then you come across the community health promoter. And should they find that there are issues that needs skilled labor, or a skilled officer, then they refer you.
Public Health PS Mary Mudhoni notes there is a serious issue in the country where people are not prioritizing their health or have become too busy to attend to their health, especially the routine medical checkups. The statistics have also shown that out of 339,000 expectant women, about 132,000 did not turn up for the antenatal care visits, endangering the lives and well-being of their unborn children.
Community health promoters are able to detect equally the common childhood ailments, starting with malnutrition, diarrhea, malaria, the pneumonia, they are able to detect and assess the children and equally guide and advise.
PS Muthoni was speaking in Kibra, where she visited community health promoters who were on a door-to-door assessment of families gathering for the festivities. The Ministry of Health has also committed to paying outstanding stipend arrears for all CHPs by the 31st of December 2024, noting that the government has made available the funds. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, you have been cautioned against eating meat from unlicensed butcheries and slaughterhouses. Experts say it will be very unsafe to consume meat that is not inspected. Josh Ansari has more.
With the festive season here with us, many Kenyans are preparing to feast, with meat not missing on their menu. But as you partake the meat, there is a caution from the experts. Dr. Mary Aguto, CEO Kenya Veterinary Board, is calling on consumers to be cautious about the meat they buy this holiday season.
We want to encourage all of us who like enjoying their nyama choma, like enjoying a lot of food of animal origin and other animal products during this festive season to ensure that they are taking food that is safe.
With the hard economic times, a section of Kenyans we talked to say there is nothing to smile about.
Kustajabisha ni kwamba watu hawapo. Ni kama watu hawana pesa sahi. Wanasema ati ng'ombe ni bei kali. Sasa hata tunashindwa ni aje. But tutakula tu.
Mwaka iliyopita zote nilikuwa nauzanga mbuzi mzuri, lakini hii mwaka imeenda chini sana.
But for many Kenyans, the reality is that budgets are tight. The high cost of living means that families are looking for affordable options, often at expense of quality. A move Dr. Benson Kibore is warning against.
Health begins with you, that you need to access meat that is licensed, access meat that has a rubber stamp of government, do not be cheated. If you find cheap meat in the market, be suspicious of cheap meat.
To stay safe, experts advise buying meat from reputable vendors who are there to hygiene and storage standards. Failure to take caution, your health will be compromised.
Wishing you a very Merry Christmas, but it's safe. 2025 is a year which requires you, because you eat poison through meat, you meet the consequences in January.
In this festive season, it's better to take safe meat to safeguard your health. Josh Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Josh, for that report. Now, the Employment and Labour Relations Court in Nairobi has made a significant ruling allowing Bruno Odida Obothe to take office as the Managing Director of the East Africa Portland Company. This follows his appointment by President William Ruto on the 20th of December this year. This decision by Justice Christine Barry paves way for Odida to lead the company over the next 3 years. Further, Justice Barry has instructed the petitioner, Patrick Tunui, to serve the application for directions before Justice Nduma Nderi by 20th January 2025, which indicates the procedural steps moving forward. This comes days after the Portland cement workers protested over a move to appoint Odida, citing a conflict of interest and lack of technical ability. Now, he now claims to be the official opposition leader after the formation of the broad-based government. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka has also been wooing the Murema vote bloc after the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua as deputy president. But what are the highlights and reflection of Kalonzo in 2024? Elizabeth Mutuku had a sit-down with the son of Sekuru, who is, by the way, celebrating his birthday today.
Thank you so much for watching TV47 and keeping it real with us. I'm Elizabeth Mutuku, and today on the year 2024 we give focus to Wiper leader Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka on the year, and we're going to focus, among other key issues, IEBC, the Gen Z protest, among other major events which we had in the year, from his perspective and his words, what he thinks of the year. And remember, you're going to converse with us through 22047 as well as our social media handles, and definitely we're going to consider your views and your concerns and as well as your questions. Thank you so much, leader, for giving me an opportunity today.
Thank you, Liz, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday too. I am glad it's another round in the sun. And I will start by asking, how was your year?
The year has been, well, we thank God. We thank God that we're coming to the end of it, and of course Christmas time. I think it's in order for me to wish all your viewers a very Merry Christmas and a 2025 full of God's grace and achievement. At the end of everything, the conclusion of the matter is God. So 2024 has been a very difficult year to a lot of Kenyans. I remember it started with flooding around about April, May. Serious flooding, city residents in particular badly affected, and people out there in areas like Garissa and other places flooding. And this problem of flooding continues even as we speak. Nyando River has burst its banks again. So it's a perennial problem. But beyond that, there was the problem of the Gen Z revolution. Young Kenyans came out and demanded justice for their country, accountability. They wanted a demonstration that it makes sense to vote in a government. And therefore the essence of democracy. And it was on the 25th of June, a day in my view we should be declared a national day. All right? A national day.
25th of June.
25th of June, when Parliament was breached by the young Kenyans. And they only wanted to go and serve a memorandum to their members of Parliament. But how was that treated? Rushed proceedings, and which angered the youth. And then the police came in, the snipers, and we had to bury a lot of young people. I remember I attended the funeral of one of them, Rex Masai, in Mitaboni. And Kenyans were demanding justice. I've seen the documentation on Citizen TV yesterday. In fact, captures a little bit of what happened. The history of this country cannot be the same. And we cannot ignore what happened on the 25th of June, when, according to me, the legitimacy of the 13th Parliament was put to question. Very serious question. Because members of Parliament had to escape through the tunnel. They abandoned Parliament. And again, the legitimacy of the administration, the executive. We all know, up to that time, Parliament had been captured. We talk of state capture of Parliament, all right? And this was real. I remember even my friend Raila used to talk about state capture that time.
Do you think that anything has changed from the view of public to the Parliament?
It has changed. I don't think Kenyans have faith in the 13th Parliament. It's as simple as that. Therefore, even if they try to bring backdoor amendments to Finance Act 2024, because that's what we've been trying to do, Kenyans know that this is an impeached Parliament. The only thing is, we do not have an alternative because the matter was not brought to its logical conclusion. But why were Kenyans demonstrating in the first place? I mean, transparency. But before that, remember we had demonstrations in 2023 against a finance bill that time, became act. We were tear gassed. We were almost killed. In 2024, the youth came up and said, you guys take a back seat. We think this over-taxation is a problem. A lot of companies who are based in Kenya have since translocated to neighboring countries of Uganda and Tanzania, meaning that those are job opportunities lost for Kenyans. So it doesn't make sense to say you're creating jobs for Kenyans in Saudi Arabia or in the URA or wherever it is, when you are, of course, making through your taxation taxation measures, you're making it impossible for any company to invest in Kenya.
The issues which the Gen Z,
yes,
young people raised, which is accountability, transparency, among other key issues.
They have not been addressed. They have not been addressed. Look at the latest example. William Ruto had said he was going to cut down on the number of his political advisors. Now he's raised it up by 50%. Haven't I seen something like that? More advisors, right? Of course.
From where they seated the events of June 25th, they see them as a way of overthrowing the government. And that is what they insist. And they say it was politically instigated.
Who? Who says it was politically instigated?
The Kenya Kwanza government leaders.
But they are politicians. When they say politically instigated, what have they done? They made promises to say they were going to compensate for the lives of the young people who were brought down by police bullets. Remember, the only thing that happened was the resignation of Inspector General of Police, nothing else. Just that. Mr. Bungei remains a regional police boss, who was the one responsible for overseeing the killing of the young people. Okay? And of course, the entire setup up to the minister responsible for security. They were the ones responsible. And they gave promises that they are going to compensate for the lives lost because these young people were exercising their constitutional rights under the Constitution, Article 37, the right to demonstrate, to picket, the only condition, unarmed. I remind Kenyans, these young people only holding a bottle of water and the national flag. None of them was carrying stones until they hired goons. The administration hired goons to come and disrupt the youth-led demonstrations.
The blame game continues on.
No, these are Kenyans know, the international community know, Liz, that it was this government that killed the youths. All right? And they continue to abduct them. All right?
Do you think justice has been served to the young people who were killed, others injured, and businesses
no justice served? This is why some of us are saying, instead of William Ruto saying that he's forming a broad-based government, he should have called a convention at Bomas or someplace. Say that we need this, because actually we recommended that under the NADCO report, if you remember, National Dialogue Committee report. Kenyans wanted a national conversation. Now it is too late. What William Ruto has been doing is poaching from Jubilee, poaching from, he has not poached from Wiper, fortunately, poaching from ODM and poaching, yeah. And in a manner that is reminiscent of people who are desperate for something.
Now that you've spoken of poaching and the broad-based government, there are the new appointees from the Jubilee Party and ODM. What do you think of these appointments and how do you speak of them?
Patchwork, desperate attempts to gain legitimacy, which legitimacy was taken out on the 25th of June by young Kenyans. Now, no attempt has been made to address those challenges. Absolutely none. All right? Including, by the way, even compensation for those affected by the flooding. All the promises have been... This is why Kenyans are saying enough is enough of politics of lies. Lies. Uongo mtupu. All right? So, but to answer you on these other nominations, which of course are waiting to be, some of them to be vetted, the cabinet secretaries. I've spoken this before. For example, I don't even know whether there's any minister from Jubilee, because I think Mutahi Kagwe was not Jubilee, I think it was some other party. Governor Lee Kinyanjui, I think, was Ubuntu. Kabogo was in Kenya Kwanza, yeah, Kenya Kwanza himself, Jibebe or something.
But they were all Azimio and close allies of former president.
Kabogo was not.
No,
Kabogo was,
yes, Kabogo was from but
Kenya
the others
Kwanza.
were in.
If they are allies, fine. Azimio allies, we can take that.
And they are allies of former president.
Therefore, on the authority of the Secretary General of Jubilee, these are not Jubilee sanctioned. These are not Jubilee sanctioned nominations. Just like those from ODM, Raila and the team came and said they were not ODM sanctioned. These are poaching efforts. If they were sanctioned, they would have started with what I said, a national convention. Their leaders will come. I would myself happily avail myself to that kind of conversation because that was what Kenyans wanted in the first place under NADCO. All right? We would all have gathered together, ask ourselves, the youth are having this problem.
The appointments are...
Then we'll now agree on a broad base.
The appointments in the Jubilee camp and allies of Azimio are coming after a meeting with the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, who also, I understand...
I think it's just taking advantage. In my view, it is taking advantage of meetings that are private.
Were you aware of the meeting prior?
No, I wasn't aware, but I saw the statement by President Uhuru. All right? Uhuru and Raila believed that there should be a national convention. Without a national convention, I want Kenyans to believe me that this is not a broad base. This is somebody trying to survive politically by having a photo op with Uhuru Kenyatta, and after that, appoint people very quickly, right? As happened with ODM. Therefore, for me, nothing has changed. The revolution is ongoing. And the culmination of this revolution will be the next election. Therefore, the need to have in place an IEBC. And this IEBC is so critical. I've myself said if by March there's no way forward on this thing, Kenyans again will be free to demonstrate.
You have been blamed by the other side, that is the government side,
a case of
derailing the process through court cases.
I don't know how they can blame the victim, because it was agreed that the two slots for Azimio, one went to Professor Olo Adams of ODM, the other one went to Koki Muli, and Kenya Kwanza sponsored a proxy. In the party I've never even had, I don't remember which party it is, but they gave him all the resources, caused confusion, and eventually Koki Muli won the case in court. And instead of Ruto now appointing the 9 panelists, they gave 1 week to Muli to go to appeal. So if they want progress, they just get Muli to withdraw the appeal. Muli is not wiper, so you can't blame me.
So from where...
If Muli was wiper, they can... I mean, Augustus, I think there are 2 Mulis. If Augustus Muli was wiper, then they can blame me.
From where you're seated, you think the stalemate can only be unlocked by the government?
By Ruto. By Ruto. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Because they are ones who encouraged... there's a judge who sits in Kiambu. He's the one who gave orders on instructions to do so. This is why, again, as a member of the bar team in Kenya, we think that there's something grossly wrong sometimes with the administration of justice. So we need to look at the whole thing. You know, I've kept on saying that our judiciary was the last line of defense. But some in the judiciary are getting misused. And this is what happened in this case of Koki Muli and the other Muli, right? To rush instead of getting within that 1 week. For Ruto, had he wanted, he would have moved and now appointed the 9. Because the problem is, you cannot appoint 8 and leave out 1, right?
But
so then they're playing that game, blame game. But I think the countries, Kenyans are wiser than you want to assume.
Even as the back and forth continues, there are people who have no leaders, especially substantive leaders.
Banisa constituency in the northeast, and a lot of other constituencies. Even Wandai, where Wandai was himself MP, what is it called, constituency.
So what is the way forward, because these Kenyans need their leaders with the IBC in place?
For William Ruto to show them, to demonstrate leadership for once. For once. say, let me get this panel in place. We are ready to help them.
And you believe you are not to be blamed?
It's all of us. Sorry?
You believe you are not to be blamed?
Of course, I have no blame whatsoever. Absolutely. Because Ruto wants to end up with a commission which he can control. This is the problem. And we are saying no. There must be an independent commission at the end of the day. And under NADCO recommendations, we had even made it very clear that him and Raila, because they are the principals, right, should agree on who becomes the chair of IEBC, who becomes whatever. Now I'm not quite sure whether it should not be me because I'm the de facto leader of the opposition. My friend Raila has gone to AU.
You've spoken of yourself being the de facto leader of the opposition.
Not me, Kenyans know.
Kenyans,
the last man standing. Even Raila called me and loved yes. I said, man, you are the last man standing.
But Junet, on the other side, he keeps saying also...
But Junet, please, let's not talk that language. Let's not talk that language.
He's not the de facto leader, you are.
No, let's not.
You've spoken something very critical of the justice on matters IEBC and in the Supreme Court and justice not being served on various cases. And one is left wondering also, there are other lawyers who feel that the Supreme Court, something is happening, and there is the question on whether yourself and others are looking forward for a friendly bench.
For me, it is very easy. They want to throw out Mother Koome. It's very clear. The same conspirators which brought about the impeachment of the deputy president, the same conspirators are now trying to throw out Justice Koome.
Interesting. All right. That is the part one of that interview. We're taking a very fast short break at this point. We're coming back with the second part of that. Stay with us.
This December, learn about safety precautions to take into consideration this season.
If you can remember, if you drive on a motorcycle often, to make sure that you have a helmet, it's key to decreasing the severity of the accidents.
If you are passing in a bus from Kakamega to Mombasa, in between, just stand up, stretch your legs, and even when you are seated, keep pumping your feet, keep moving your feet to avoid that long stasis of blood in the veins.
Healthier options for you to maintain a balanced lifestyle amid the holiday hustle.
Eating healthy really doesn't mean that you have to deprive yourself, but we really just have to factor on how to strike a balance. Portion control and moderation are very key. Let us enjoy the season, and at the same time, let us try to watch our health and our well-being.
Happy holidays.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's leave you with this interview. Keep watching.
You've spoken something very critical of the justice on matters IEBC and in the Supreme Court and justice not being served on various cases. And one is left wondering also, there are other lawyers who feel that the Supreme Court, something is happening, and there is the question on whether yourself and others are looking forward for a friendly bench.
For me, it is very easy. They want to throw out Mother Koome. It's very clear. The same conspirators which brought about the impeachment of the deputy president, the same conspirators are now trying to throw out Justice Koome.
You believe she is competent, but someone somewhere...
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about competence. When, of course, she ruled that time, remember the petition, she made some very unfriendly and judicial comments about that. But that is history. We now must look at what is happening. Okay? So, personally, I believe that there's a big conspiracy around that. And also, just like there was again about the impeachment of, which is another very historic event. Apart from the Gen Z revolution, the next thing was impeachment of the deputy president. And the other thing was state capture. State capture. I'm just giving you the synopsis of the main events in 2024. All right? State capture of this country. Look at the SHA and the shift, shifting from NHIF to SHA, and then the confusion in the education sector, leading to the pronouncement by Justice Mwita that the whole thing about the funding model is unconstitutional. This has been a disaster government, a disaster year for the country. All right? That's why Kenyans are really hoping, if they wish elections could be brought nearer, to send these guys home.
According to Kenya Kwanza leaders and the government, they insist that they found a mess and they are trying to steady the ship.
They found a mess? Mm-hmm. And the mess, they said that they had no money, there was no money in the coffers, and wasn't there a member who went carrying 12 million shillings in Ararambe? Where did he find that money from? Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Kenyans are wiser than this. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, for me, the issues, housing levy is what will drive William Ruto home. Any Kenyan who is having a payslip is feeling the pinch.
Do you think
even
President
at this
William Ruto
time
is going to be a one-term president?
Well, that's a different thing. Kenyans will determine. Mm-hmm. That one, Kenyans are determined to determine. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whether it's going to be one term or not. They are determined to determine. Okay?
They are determined to determine, yes, and we're looking forward to that.
Yes.
But the appointments which is made recently, it is seen also as a game plan for him to plan the 2027 election.
Of course, that is why some of us cannot imagine joining that kind of government.
Have you been approached?
Because William Ruto is basically trying to gather here and there, see whether he can regain. Because imagine a government at 1% credibility rating. 1%. This is the lowest any government since independence has actually enjoyed. Mm-hmm. So that tells you a lot. So for me, therefore, it is all about 2027. That is what he's doing. And the ones who are joining William Ruto now, I just need to tell them, some are saying we join and then we exit at the right time. You will be judged by Kenyans as one who betrayed them. You will betrayed the young generation, calling for transparency, calling for openness, of course, transparency, and also saying we need a taxation regime which is friendly. We don't want a government that weighs so heavily on its citizens that companies are running away and we are losing jobs. You look at any Kenyan anywhere. I was in Limuru yesterday, and what I saw are people feeling pain written everywhere. In fact, one person ran across I remember him near Limuru shop, akanambia Kalonzo, tusaidie tupeleke hawa jamaa nyumbani kabisa haraka sana. That is the mood. You know, Kenyans are actually angry. And then you end up with a president who is angry. Calling people mapepo. Watu wa siasa pesa nane. The time for name calling is over. This is a different country, thanks to the Gen Z.
You don't believe the new appointees and even the appointments which were done on the new CSs from ODM, which is Azimio. You don't believe that they are going to help the government steady the ship? And maybe
what have they done so far? What have they done? One of them had his dues cancelled thanks to the American judicial system, criminal justice system, which found out that this Andane fellow you're trying to give international airport is a criminal. And Ruto seeing that, cancel everything. State capture. Hey, Liz, Kenyans are so clear about what has been happening in 2024. There's nobody who can trust this administration.
And you don't believe the new appointees in the cabinet
will
make any changes?
My advice to them, they will be seen as part and parcel of the oppressive regime. And if you join now, in the hope you can jump out 6 months to an election, my friend, it will be too late.
The impeachment of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is an historic moment in the country, an event in the country, and in the new constitution. And one will want to hear your opinion, whether you think justice was served then.
As a lawyer, I can tell you that. By the way, we took a principal position as Wiper Democratic Movement that we are not party to that whole thing. And Kenyans were saying, kufa driver, kufa makanga. They expected that if you are getting rid of the deputy president, the president should lead by example. All right? Nothing has changed. That's why every day, everywhere, in fact, it's becoming like a national anthem, saying Ruto must go. Somebody should sit and ask themselves, what has gone wrong? In fact, it's almost embarrassing. I told people in one place, please stop shouting so people don't think I'm the one who has incited you. to sing that song. This is the lowest a government can sing.
And do you think justice was served by National Assembly and Senate?
That's why I'm saying, I said in Lemuru yesterday, it is of paramount importance that justice should be seen to be served. And justice denied is justice delayed. I'm aware that even the registrar of the Court of Appeal is playing games with the papers of the former deputy president. Instead of now making it easy for him to access justice by way of appeal, they're even denying him. Did we not hear from a Supreme Court judge, Justice Lenaula, who is very well regarded, saying that they even interfered with the filing system, right? The digital approach of filing in the Supreme Court was interfered with in the High Court, all right? Just because of trying to deny one man justice. Let Gachagua have his appeal heard and determined expeditiously, because justice delayed is justice denied.
In the recent past, we've had also Gachagua speaking of you and the wiper in what he says he's looking forward kuunga mkono and kurudisha mkono. Are we likely to see you two work together?
We thank him for those sentiments. I mean, coming from a leader, every leader expects support. Right? And we will be looking at all these things as we move into the new year. Yeah, we have to craft a new coalition for sure. Yes.
And which will be having Gachagua
We will be
on board.
looking at all those things. We are in wide-ranging consultations. Yeah.
And new year, we are likely to see a gigantic alliance according to your words.
We are going to move in some very specific, clear direction to rescue. Actually, this is going to be a national salvation effort. Yes. The coalition we are going to form will be a national salvation coalition.
National Salvation Coalition.
This country needs salvation.
As you speak of that, other leaders like Martha Karua are leaving Azimio. And in the recent past, we also saw President William Ruto in what people are seeing as a handshake. Where does this leave you as a person?
What do you mean as a person?
Yes, as a leader in the Azimio.
I saw
and
that.
Why are you...
I saw something like in fact, I called Raila. We spoke yesterday to wish him Merry Christmas, and he said, "Hey man, I'm seeing the papers are saying the last man standing. There are lots of men and women standing for a cause. Kwanzaa, the youth are standing. I am quite sure I'm not standing alone."
Either way, you are the leader in Azimio, they are seeing standing.
We will be in the team of leaders who are determined to save this country.
Why is it you're holding onto Azimio? And
Sorry?
Why is it you're clinching onto Azimio?
Well, we're going to look into that. We are very pragmatic. We'll have to look at whether Azimio is relevant anymore. You mentioned my sister, Mother Karua, my twin sister, okay? You know, I called her, I said, are you seeing, she talked of political wildebeest migration. People are moving in some kind of direction. But people need to really stop and take stock.
And that is what you're doing?
Yes.
With the new found relationship, because already we know the relationship between former President Uhuru Kenyatta and not Raila Odinga, but President William Ruto, was not so good, seemingly because of the Mandamane and other things. How do you speak of your relationship then with former President Uhuru Kenyatta and the new alliance?
President Kenyatta is my brother. I have a lot of respect for him. And I said in Gatundu that he stands above all this confusion. In fact, I think his wish is his name should not be dragged into this maneno. And my advice to him is, if he can meet William Ruto, there's no harm in him meeting Gachagua as well. Okay? I'm being very open about these matters so that he stays there. He stays there. All right? And whoever needs advice, if it is William Ruto, he can go and seek his advice. And I think, as I said, Uhuru was very clear. He told him this country needs strong opposition. This country is reeling under the burden of overtaxation, where our companies in Kenya are migrating. He told it all to him. Okay? Yeah. So that is him. That is Uhuru. And I think his sense is he wants to be left alone, all right? Not be dragged into any mud, okay? But I say, because again, as one of the fathers of the country now, all right, as a immediate former president, he cannot also now shut his eyes. He is listening. As he said in Embu, he's watching the television, he's listening to the radio. Okay.
I know he is your friend. Have you had a conversation
I talked to Uri, he attended, I thank him very much, he attended my daughter's wedding.
Have you had a conversation in regards to Azimio? Because I remember the last interview I had with you, you told me very soon we're going to have a meeting. Have you had these meetings?
I think Uhuru's view now is we should have a fresh look at the composition and the direction of Azimio. Yeah. And I get the sense he wants to allow a natural progression. Therefore, the de facto leader is here. Thank you.
Do you believe that you've provided the required leadership when it comes to...
What do you mean? Kenyans will determine.
I'm asking because...
You know, there are those leads who are saying, tumezoea mambo ya Raila, demonstration, opposition. So far, ask Kenyans, have we provided leadership or not? I personally go to court, which is deeper than demonstrating, and get Adani thrown out of this country. And by the way, we will form, right, a state capture commission. Remember William Ruto had talked about a state capture commission, okay? And then he backpedaled. The real state capture is happening under his administration. We will form that and we'll see it through. Because we want to know who was paid what by Andani in these Ketraco deals. Who was paid what by trying to sell off our strategic infrastructure, like our international airport. How much were they paid? We want to know. We will follow this through. Therefore, a polite way, as a senior lawyer, we will follow these things in accordance with the law. Because we owe it to the future generations the Gen Zs represent, that we bequeath them a country under the rule of law. It's so important. And not a thieving nation. Remember, there was one time a British High Commissioner who famously said, "You have eaten and vomited on our shoes." They are vomiting on each other's shoes.
In the current situation, do you think President William Ruto, with the new appointments and now the DP from the east of Mlima, are we likely to see him go back and maybe have a say in the Mlima?
People have no problem with the DP. People have a problem with Ruto. Okay? Anybody who is, because, it gets to a stage where now, and I have heard Kenyans say now, we will be looking at character in the next leadership dispensation. Yeah. So it matters not who is from where or from whatever. The contest will be Ruto and Kalonzo Musyoka.
It will be two horses race.
As of now.
But now...
Others could come on board.
We've seen Omtata.
I don't know. I don't want to commit about it. I think what he did was to set up a team to investigate possibilities.
Will you even consider working?
We will get everybody on board. Everybody will come. Because unless they want William Ruto to sail through with a slim majority, but I'm hearing Kenyans saying one touch. That's what Jeremiah Kioni keeps on saying. Yeah.
You've spoken of vaccination of our livestock over and over again.
Yes.
What is the greatest fear and concern over this matter? Because President William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza government, on the other hand, they keep insisting that it's foot and mouth disease, which they want at least our Kenyan cattle and livestock to be at par with international market.
Well, we're living in a world which is global. And everybody knows about the challenge of climate change. And there are those who wanted to use our animals as a testing ground to see whether emission of methane gas, which by the way is used sometimes to give, if you do that methane gas, you're able to get biogas, yeah? It was a product of methane gas. And there are those who believe that the animals have been contributing to depletion of the ozone layer through that approach. This thing is very scientific, okay? But scientific as it is, and I've heard William Ruto himself say, he's a scientist. So the scientist in him should not be angry with those who want to investigate the truth about this proposed vaccination. Number one, there's no money in the budget. We want to be told who is producing the money to do vaccination in the next few weeks, if it's not in the Kenyan budget. You might find it's an international NGO. Who is behind that NGO? Kenyans want to know, all right? So nobody is averse to having healthy animals, for sure. But Kenyans do not want to end up as a situation where even the quality of our meat, instead of making it fit for export to Saudi Arabia and kwingineko. By the way, I've always held the view that because of the presence of livestock in the northeast, in Wajir and Garissa, Mandera, the international airport, Wajir should be an international airport where we'll be exporting our animals to the Arab world. But this whole thing needs conversation, needs serious public participation. Did we not hear the Veterinary Association itself issue a statement? So it is not a light matter. We will not allow animals to be used as guinea pigs. No.
The problem with Kenya Kwanza.
And remember, there are people who are actually in court elsewhere in the Netherlands because of COVID vaccinations. So Kenyans are sensitive to these things. All they want is full information and concurrence. And everybody, I heard one fellow say, I don't own cows or anything. I am a pastoralist.
The problem, you say, it's communication.
Yes, communication, and of course, we want the truth about this sort of thing.
We know very
But not to dismiss and say, kuna mapepo, kuna nini.
How do you speak of President's range in the recent past?
Well, I would advise him. He's still a friend of mine. I advise him. Poor.
He says that he's willing to bring everyone on board. Have you
willing anybody? But I gave you how to bring everybody on board. That was a formula by Raila Odinga.
Have they approached
the
you to
Raila
bring you on
Odinga
board?
formula was call a national convention. Bring everybody there. Have a conversation. Then, in fact, I can tell you for a fact, before the 4 ODM guys went, Raila and I had a discussion at Karen Blixen, where I listened to a conversation, all right? And he was telling William, listen, you take your half cabinet, because they had dissolved the cabinet, okay? Take your half cabinet, let the rest of us now go into a national convention. We give you our nominees. But William Ruto snookered Raila. He did not wait for that convention. He got these people one by one, Joho, Wandai, Oparanya, and who is the other one?
But Raila Odinga was aware.
Of course he was aware.
Have you been approached by the Kenya Kwanza government?
You see, that is
to ensure
completely
that
immaterial.
It's people.
You know, that's immaterial.
I would like also to hear, and Kenyans would like to.
That have been approached.
Yes,
they
know people to approach.
My people?
Yes, to be part of the government.
These are Kenyans.
Yes, they are Kenyans. Either way, they are leaders.
By the way, I must tell you this.
Yes.
When they come to those things, appointments under Public Service Commission, right? Like principal secretaries, they should not bring tribalism. Any qualified Kenyan, whether it's Masai, Mkamba, Mturukana, Mkalenjin, should be interviewed for that, because these are jobs under the public service. But if they say, Wiper, bring Mutu, our appointed permanent secretary, cabinet I can understand. But those are the public service jobs. That's how the French system worked. When during General de Gaulle's thing after the French Revolution, that what kept France going was the civil service. Now, if you politicize the civil service as they're trying to do, then you will have to face the consequences.
You say there is range. Are we likely, there was range and everyone knows with the Gen Z protests, with the current state of affairs, are we likely to go back there and now that you are the opposition leader, de facto opposition leader?
You see, if we don't have IBC, I've told you this, and it's blaming the victim, right? We are going to tell them, if there's no IBC, for sure, Kenyans will go to the streets. Already we're in breach of the Constitution, and we had given William Ruto the formula under NADCO on how to, because there should be boundaries review after every 12 years. Now we put it to, I think, 15 or 14 years. Now we would be, if they had passed the NADCO report as it was, with the numbers they had, which they used to impeach Gachagua, they should have used those numbers to implement the NADCO report. The country would not be in breach as we speak, Liz, of our Constitution.
So after your ultimatum, then we go to
We'll go to the streets, for sure. Oh, even if I demonstrate alone, and I suspect that will be the demonstration for the year.
If they don't do that.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the new year? What is
And
in
we
the
said
offing?
we'll make announcements. We'll make announcements.
At least we can get a hit
No.
leader.
We make. I've told you about the State Capture Commission. Nimekupatia kamoja.
And that is
State Capture Commission. How Andani was capturing Kenya. He probably is still capturing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know very well I've taken your time and it has been a good moment. Once again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Your wishes for Kenyans before we go to the new year.
Merry Christmas and a prosperous, must be prosperous 2025, where you gain Kenyans your integrity, your sense of nationhood. You do not allow cartels to run your country, calling it a democracy. That is the year 2025. And God be with all of us.
Thank you so much once again. Happy birthday. And I appreciate. Thank you so much for watching TV47. That has been a special interview with Wiper leader, His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. I'm Elizabeth Mutuku. Keep it TV47.
All right, that was an exclusive one-on-one interview with Kalonzo Musyoka and Elizabeth Mutuku, the host. Happy birthday to Elizabeth Mutuku and Kalonzo Musyoka. Let's take a look at what's happening in the world of sports.
Sports news brought to you by Maybets.
All right, now in sports, Menengai Oilers Academy, Pioneer RFC, Turkana Queens and Hokies emerged victorious during the 2024 Bingo Fest Rift Valley edition held over the weekend in Eldoret City, Uasin Gishu County. Menengai Oilers Academy clinched the rugby title after defeating P61 RFC at Eldoret Sports Club and walked away with 1 million shillings prize money. Pioneer RFC lifted the women's rugby trophy after beating Kitale Community RFC and also pocketed 1 million Kenyan shillings. Turkana Queens won the women's football title after edging out Soccer Queens, and they also took home 1 million Kenyan shillings prize money. The men's final between GFE 105 and Langas Superstars was postponed due to safety concerns. In the 3x3 basketball competition, Blacklist lifted the men's title while Hokies clinched the women's trophy. They both won $500,000 shillings each. The focus now will shift to the Karamoja Super Cup on 28th December in Malava before the Chris Onguso football tournament on 29th December.
Leo ya number 1 ni 1 million. Na hiyo ni ya Christmas. Hiyo ni ya Christmas. Hatukuwa na form sasa tushapata. Tunaenda kujienjoy nguo za Christmas hapo. So Betty Bingo Fest ametusaidia sana. Tunasema thanks.
Hii tournament haijakuwa rahisi vile, but our boys ningependa ku encourage wali dig deep from day 1, from game 1. Walikuja pamoja tukaweka our heads together. Then we came for the win from game 1, from the win, game 2, game 3, hivyo win.
This is our first winning kwa hii tournament ya Betika. Hatujai win, this is our first. Na tumeshukuru pia na tutarudi tena. Wakiweka ligi ingine tena tutakuwa hapo na hatutakubali kunyang'anywa kikombe tena.
Nimeshukuru sana Betika kwa kuweka usawa kwa girl child na boy child. Kila mtu ameangania milioni, yani hamjabagua mseme ati sijui msichana, sijui kijana, hapana, mmebalance. Na kwa hiyo mimi nashukuru sana na Mungu azidishe biashara yenu iweze kuimarika kabisa.
We started all slow and we lost our game in the group stage, but we came back. We did meditate on that L, and I can say Betika has been like a great help in the community, so that like people they can show up they can show their talent.
This has been very encouraging to us to continue doing more of this, giving more to the community. And this time we brought the medical camp, Betika Medical Camp, where we are treating the ill. And we have all services from triage to doctor's consultation, to laboratory, to radiology, dentistry, and pharmacy as well.
2024 African Nations Championship CHAN is set to kick off in just over a month, while Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania are the main host of the tournament. Kenya Local Organizing LOC convened its first meeting in Nairobi yesterday, marking a significant milestone as the country prepares to co-host the tournament. Thereafter, there was inspection of the Nyayo National Stadium, one of the venues earmarked for the tournament. Sports Principal Secretary Peter Toom led the inspection alongside FKF President Hussein Mohamed and LOC Chair Nicholas Musonye, signaling a collective determination to ensure Kenya hosts the competition. FKF President Hussein Mohamed applauded the government's unwavering commitment as the country accelerates preparations for the 2025 African Nations Championships CHAN.
To tell you that as we speak, the flight lights now are being erected. And by the time we are going into the CHAN itself, 1st to 28th, the floodlights will already have been there. Kasarani is also doing very well. After this, we are going there for inspection, and so that the LOC members understand what we must do insofar as infrastructure issues.
Media, that we are going to organize CHAN. We are working around the clock. We are not breaking for Christmas. We are here to work and deliver on our mandate.
Again, to congratulate the government for the incredible job that is going on all the sites in terms of the preparations for CHAN that is coming up very soon. So we are quite happy with the progress. As a federation, we are going to focus now our efforts. As the infrastructure is being developed, our efforts will be going into the preparation of our national team, so that we don't just participate for the sake of participating in the competition, but that we should be able to put up a good show for Kenyans and for the region and the entire.
And finally, Italian Serie A champions Inter Milan squeezed past newly promoted end of our bulletin tonight. Many thanks indeed for watching. And just before we leave, we have some comments here. And Joseph Kiyo watching from Kitengela, Merry Christmas. We have William Owanda saying this is the right 2027 President of the Republic of Kenya. And that is in regards to the interview with Kalonzo Musyoka. All right. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Anne Odida and Catherine Simale is our sign language interpreter tonight. They have a good night and see you next time. Merry Christmas.